Let's watch a CNN panel breaking down some of the shortcomings from Democrats this election, where I think they actually managed to strike home on quite a few of them, making sense of what went wrong, where it went wrong. So I have these lined up, and as always, we'll jump in with the needed context.
They didn't know how to communicate their position. The Biden economy was a good economy. They didn't. You may disagree with me statistically, it was. They didn't communicate it, that it was getting better and better, right? And that they needed to see it through.
This is exactly what I was speaking about in the video I did this morning, feelings that can be manufactured versus the reality of what's actually going on, where right-wingers have this massive misinformation machine through social media and new media where they can craft narratives and perspectives of people that they'll share even though it doesn't match with their personal reality, let alone the objective reality, when the facts can just be ignored, right? Where someone can be making more money now, but they still feel like they're worse off because that's all they ever hear or all they ever read. When the truth is wages are up, wages are outpacing inflation. Inflation is under 3%. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are created every month. Healthcare and medicine costs have came down. Record debt has been forgiven. GDP is shooting up. I mean, you can go on, right? These are all economic factors that would typically get a president or the incumbent party's president or candidate reelected. But the first impression, the year after COVID, matched with this constant right-wing propaganda proved to be too much for Democrats to surmount.
We had a woman in the back who yelled, "You're brainwashed," to a person who identified as trans. She got elected to the board. We can't compete. You say we have to be better on messaging. Tell me what we're supposed to do when Donald Trump says boys are going to school and getting a surgery and coming home as girls. The fact that anybody would believe that is insane to me. But how do we combat that? I don't know what to do.
Exactly. And when Republicans can say whatever and get away with it, but Democrats have to run defense for any little thing they say that goes against the grain, also creates an impossible standard. Kamala Harris or Joe Biden say something that's like 90% true. Maybe they mess up like a couple percent of a statistic or misrepresent a small part. And it's, oh, they're lying to us. Look, we've caught them. They're dishonest. Meanwhile, Trump can say that schools are sexually transitioning children and migrants are eating pets, and Republicans will just shrug their shoulders and say like, yeah, probably somewhere, right? It's incredulous. I mean, I'm so serious when I say that MAGA could be walking home and see their house on fire and be like about to call 911. But if Trump drove by at that moment and said, your house is fine, don't worry about it, they would just turn around and walk right in anyway.
They should have looked straight into the camera every single day and said, you know what, we just passed a bipartisan infrastructure bill, and in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, or in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, on Route 212, thanks to our bill, there's a pothole on Regalsville Road, and we filled it. That pothole that you've been riding on for the last 10 years, thanks to us, we filled it. Instead of that, they're talking about little memes with Steve I mean, again, the messaging was all over the place as opposed to laser focusing on their accomplishments. And I'm sorry to say, it was a huge missed opportunity. And you ask why Biden's numbers consistently went down. It's because nobody ever effectively communicated his accomplishments over and over and over and over again. And they should have, because they are vast. They are vast.
One big mistake was Democrats allowed for Republicans to set the playing field, which assured that it would always benefit them rather than it be level ground for both parties, bringing the conversation to more of these kind of culture war-based topics and the buzzwords and campaign talking points, which distracts from legislative success. I mean, to put it simply, we have case study of both Republicans under Trump and Democrats under Biden-Harris in similar setups. Trump was elected with control of the House and Senate. So was Joe Biden. Trump failed to get immigration reform passed. That was his main campaign talking point and his party's focus. He couldn't even get it through when he had both houses of chambers, and he could only get one major piece of legislation passed his entire 4 years in Congress, while again controlling the House and Senate for 2 of those years. Biden, meanwhile, while also recovering from a pandemic, got infrastructure passed with green energy being the focus of it. That was one of his major campaign goals and his party's focus. And he went on to get 7 major pieces of legislation passed through Congress. Like, quite literally, Trump was the most legislatively inefficient president we've had in decades, and Biden was the most legislatively successful. And Harris was a part of that administration. And Trump won against Harris despite that, because he managed to move the narrative to never having to talk about policy or legislation. How often were we having these serious kind of policy discussions? I mean, I always try to talk about them, right? But on a mainstream level, it was always, oh my gosh, Trump said this about immigrants, or Trump does this about like trans children, and whatever it is. And it just distracts the conversation from, hey, like, just look at their legislative records. Like, hey, this is what I passed and this is what it did for you. And instead it's focused on issues that Trump would make up and then like dramatize to like unrealistic levels and then force the Democrats to defend them. And it proved to be a rather effective strategy, I guess, at the end of the day. Democrats need to find a way to not get caught up in that and speak about policy and about data and statistics in a way that appeals to a broad tent, that doesn't come off as boring macroeconomic talk or, you know, feeling preachy and like you're being lectured to, and rather resonates at a relatable level. When they can do that, when they build up social media and new media channels that rival that of which the right currently dominates, we can get back to pushing Republicans out of our political sphere. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.